Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Three minutes ago, Senator John Kennedy did something that will be replayed on every news channel by tonight. He didn't use fancy legal language. He didn't dance around the issue. He looked directly at Kash Patel and asked the question that everyone in America has been thinking, but nobody in power has had the courage to ask. Did someone order you to bury the Epstein files? Watch this video until the very end, because Patel's reaction, that split second before his lawyer leaned in to whisper something, that moment tells you everything you need to know. And if you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that bell. Because what I am about to show you is just the beginning of something much bigger. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing room afternoon session. The kind of Washington theater that usually puts people to sleep. Budget discussions, personnel reviews, procedural questions that mean absolutely nothing to anyone outside the Beltway. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana sits near the end of the table. For those who don't know Kennedy, he is not your typical senator. Yale Law School, Oxford University, speaks with a southern drawl so thick you'd think he never left the bayou. But don't let that fool you. The man is sharp as a scalpel and twice as dangerous when he wants to be. He waded through 90 minutes of bureaucratic nonsense. Patel handled the other senators easily. Questions about cybersecurity threats, Chinese espionage, Russian disinformation campaigns. Patel gave his standard answers. Professional, measured, just vague enough to say nothing. While appearing to say something, he checked his watch twice. He looked relaxed. That was his first mistake. Kennedy's turn came at 3:47 p.m. Eastern Time. I know because I checked the timestamp 3 times after watching what happened next. Director Patel, Kennedy started, his voice slow and deliberate, like molasses poured over broken glass. I want to talk to you about Jeffrey Epstein. The room shifted. You could feel it, that electrical charge when everyone suddenly pays attention. Patel's expression didn't change. He has been asked about Epstein before. He has his talking points ready. Senator, as I've stated in previous testimony, the FBI conducted a thorough investigation into Mr. Epstein's activities, and I am not interested in your previous testimony, Kennedy interrupted. His tone hadn't changed, still slow, still polite. But there was steel underneath now. I am interested in what you are not telling us. Patel blinked once. Twice, Kennedy opened a folder, blue cover, maybe 40 pages inside. He didn't look at it, just rested his hand on top like he was making a promise. Director Patel, how many documents related to Jeffrey Epstein are currently held by the FBI? That is a difficult number to quantify. Senator, the investigation generated substantial. I didn't ask for an essay. I asked for a number. Approximately how many documents? Patel glanced at his attorneys, both of them in dark suits, both of them looking like they wanted to be anywhere else. Without reviewing our internal database, I couldn't provide an accurate senator. You are the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You are telling me you don't know roughly how many Epstein files you are sitting on. I am saying that without proper context, Kennedy leaned forward. Let me give you some context then. According to a Freedom of Information Act request that my office filed 6 months ago, the FBI is currently withholding approximately 2,300 documents related to the Epstein investigation. Does that number sound about right? He waited. 5 seconds, 10. Patel finally nodded. That figure is within the general range of Senator Kennedy's voice cut through again. Of those 2,300 documents, how many have been released to the public? A limited number have been released following appropriate redaction procedures to protect. I didn't ask about procedures. I asked how many. Patel's jaw tightened. Approximately 90 documents have been released in redacted form. 90. Kennedy let that number hang in the air out of 2,300. That is about 4%, Director Patel, 4%. What is in the other 96% that the American people aren't allowed to see? Those documents contain sensitive information related to ongoing investigations, national security concerns, and privacy interests of individuals who have not been. I am going to stop you right there. Kennedy's hand came up. not aggressive, just a gentle gesture like he was directing traffic. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. The investigation is closed. So what ongoing investigation are you protecting? Patel shifted in his seat. First time he'd moved in 20 minutes. There are ancillary matters that remain under review. Ancillary matters, Kennedy smiled. Not a friendly smile, the kind of smile a cat gives a mouse. Director Patel, I am a simple country lawyer, went to LSU, practiced law in Louisiana for years before I got into this mess called politics. So help me understand something. If the main investigation is closed and the primary subjects are either dead or imprisoned, what exactly are these ancillary matters? And more importantly, who are they protecting? Senator, I can't discuss the specifics of ongoing FBI operations in an open setting. Kennedy nodded slowly, like he expected that answer, like he'd been waiting for it. Fair enough. Let me ask you a different question then. Since you became FBI director, how many Epstein-related documents have been reclassified from public to restricted status? I am not aware of any systematic reclassification. You are not aware. Kennedy pulled a document from his folder. This is an internal FBI memo dated February 8th of this year, 2 months after you took office. It is marked for official use only, but my office obtained it through proper channels. He held it up. Would you like me to read what it says? Patel's lawyers both leaned in. One whispered something. Patel shook his head slightly. Senator, without reviewing the specific document you are referencing, Kennedy was already reading. Quote, following director-level review, the following materials previously cleared for potential FOIA release have been redesignated as law enforcement sensitive and removed from the release queue. End quote. He looked up. Director Patel, this memo lists 47 documents that were about to be released to the public until you became director. Documents that are now buried again. Why those redesignation decisions were based on updated risk assessments and consultation with updated risk assessments. Kennedy set the memo down. Director Patel, these documents had already been reviewed multiple times by career FBI agents, by DOJ attorneys, by classification specialists. They've been cleared for release. Then you showed up and suddenly they're too dangerous for the American people to see. What changed? The methodology for assessing potential harm evolved based on Senator. I am going to ask you a direct question, and I'd appreciate a direct answer. Kennedy's voice was quieter, now more dangerous that way. Did anyone outside the FBI ask you to reclassify those documents? Number, did anyone from the White House communicate with you about the Epstein files? Standard interagency coordination occurs on various matters. Did anyone from Donald Trump's legal team contact you about those files? I don't recall any specifics, Senator Kennedy. The FBI director doesn't take orders from you. Didn't answer my question. Kennedy wasn't letting him pivot. It is a simple yes or no. Did anyone associated with Donald Trump ask you to restrict access to the Epstein files? Patel's face went through several expressions in about 3 seconds: confusion, anger, calculation. Then back to that professional mask. My decisions regarding document classification are based solely on my assessment of national security and law enforcement interests, not on any external pressure from any individual or organization. That is not what I asked. The room was completely silent. Now, every reporter, every staffer, every senator on the committee, all frozen. This wasn't normal hearing procedure. This was something else. Let me try again, Kennedy said. His tone was almost gentle now, like a teacher helping a struggling student. In the 6 months since you became FBI director, have you had any communication, direct or indirect, with anyone connected to Donald Trump regarding the handling, classification, or release of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein? I communicate with many individuals in the course of my duties. That is still not a yes or no answer, Director Patel. It is a very simple question. Yes or no, have you communicated with anyone connected to Trump about the Epstein files? Patel looked at his attorneys again. Both of them looked like they wanted to crawl under the table. Senator, I would need to review my communications logs to provide a complete. You need to review your logs to remember if you talked to someone about Jeffrey Epstein. Kennedy's eyebrows went up. Director Patel, I can remember every conversation I had about Epstein over the last year. There weren't that many. It is not exactly casual water cooler talk. You are telling me you can't remember if you discussed these files with Trump's people. I am saying that in the normal course of interagency coordination, Kennedy stood up. Actually stood up from his chair. I've never seen him do that in a hearing before. Director Patel, I've been patient. I've been polite. But now I am going to be direct because the American people deserve direct answers. He picked up another document. This is a phone log, February 23rd, 10:47 p.m. A call was placed from your personal cell phone to a number registered to a law firm in New York City, Kasowitz, Benson, Torres. Do you know who that firm represents? Patel's face had gone completely white. I speak with many attorneys in the course of Director Patel. That firm represents Donald Trump. And according to this log, you spoke with someone there for 17 minutes, 3 weeks after you became FBI director, 2 days before those 47 Epstein documents were reclassified. He set the log down. Now, one more time, did anyone connected to Donald Trump ask you to bury the Epstein files? The silence lasted forever, or maybe it was just 15 seconds. Hard to tell when you were watching a man's entire defense collapse in real time. Senator, that call was regarding a completely separate matter related to "I'm going to stop you again." Kennedy sat back down slowly, like he had all the time in the world. Director Patel, I am from Louisiana. We have a saying down there, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it is probably not a chicken. He leaned forward. You reclassified documents that were about to expose powerful people. You did it right after talking to Trump's lawyers. And now you are sitting here telling me it is all just a coincidence. Do I look like I was born yesterday? Patel tried one more time. Senator, I resent the implication that I would compromise my integrity or the integrity of the FBI to protect any individual. I didn't imply anything. Kennedy said quietly, I stated facts. You talked to Trump's lawyers. Documents got buried. Those are facts. The American people can draw their own conclusions. He gathered his papers. I have one final question, Director Patel, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer because you are under oath. Are there documents in the Epstein files that directly implicate Donald Trump in criminal activity? Senator, I cannot comment on the contents of classified materials in an open setting. I didn't ask you to tell me what is in them. I asked if they exist. Yes or no? Do documents exist in those files that implicate Trump? Patel's hands were flat on the table now. Press down hard. Senator, the Epstein investigation involved numerous individuals, and I am not asking about numerous individuals. I am asking about one Donald Trump documents. Yes or no? The FBI does not make determinations about implication or guilt based solely on documentary evidence. Without that is not an answer. Yes or no, Director Patel, do the documents exist? Senator Kennedy, I must respectfully decline to answer that question in this setting. Kennedy nodded, like he'd gotten exactly what he wanted. He looked directly at the camera, not at Patel at the camera. Ladies and gentlemen watching at home, the director of the FBI just refused to deny that evidence exists connecting Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activities. He could have said no. He could have denied it. He didn't. Remember that. The hearing technically continued after that. Other senators asked other questions. Something about counterterrorism, something about budget allocations. None of it mattered. The clip was already going viral. Kennedy versus Patel, the question that wouldn't be answered, the phone call that shouldn't have happened, the documents that America isn't allowed to see. Within an hour, every news network had the footage. The Washington Post was writing analysis pieces. Legal experts were debating whether Patel had just admitted to obstruction. And somewhere in FBI headquarters, someone was probably having a very bad afternoon because John Kennedy didn't just ask a question. He laid out a timeline phone call to Trump's lawyers. Documents reclassified. Refusal to deny evidence exists. 3 facts that together tell a story about power protecting power, about secrets being buried, about an FBI director who might have just chosen loyalty to one man over loyalty to the truth. 3 minutes. That is how long it took for John Kennedy to dismantle Kash Patel's carefully constructed defenses. 3 minutes to connect the dots between Trump's lawyers and buried documents. 3 minutes to force the question that no one else would ask. Did someone order you to protect Donald Trump? Patel never answered. But his silence, his refusal, his visible discomfort, those answered for him. The Epstein files are still buried. The documents are still classified. The truth is still hidden. But now everyone knows why. And they know who is responsible for keeping it that way. If you made it this far, you understand how serious this is. Subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the bell, share this video with everyone you know. This story isn't over. Kennedy promised more hearings, more questions, more documents. And I am going to cover every single development. The truth is coming out, one hearing at a time, one question at a time, one brave senator at a time.